Your service levels go down, your reputation goes down, things don't happen the way they should, it ends up being a problem. So sometimes we can grow a little faster. Most of the time we've got to go a bit slower in the beginning so that we can get you up to speed, and then we can grow real fast. So in this example, I'm only going to do 10% in each area. So let's imagine we worked on 4 or 5 different strategies over 12 months. We tested them, we learned what works, we've measured them, we got results, we knew what was happening, and we could increase your lead flow by 10%. Now, by the way, for most of you, increasing your lead flow by 10% is as simple as actually measuring where they're coming from right now. One client of mine, this guy spent a lot of money on marketing. He was about 80 grand a month. We started measuring where his leads were actually coming from. We found that only 30,000 of his 80,000 was bringing him in leads. The other 50 grand was bringing no new customers for his business. How fast do you think he stopped spending that 50 grand every month and put it where the 30 grand was, and what happened to his business? 2.5 times the number of leads, because he put the money where it was supposed to go, not where it wasn't performing. Measuring your numbers is real important. We've got to know them. But just doing that won't work for everyone. For the rest of you, that's why we have another 70-odd strategies for you to actually get to work on to build the business. So in this case, 4,000 becomes what, gang? Call it out for me. 4,400. Not a big increase, but it's very powerful. Let's work our way through. Then we've got to work your conversion rate. Again, just measuring it alone. How many of you know your conversion rate now? Like down to the decimal point, you know that if 20 people call, we sell this many. Who knows that number in their business? 1 or 2 of you, fantastic. The rest of you, you got a lot of room for growth if you don't know it, because whatever you guess it is, it's about half that, okay? Most of the time, in fact, I worked with one guy, a big electrical company, a big electrician, lots of vans out on the road with guys doing electrical work in all of these different places. Here's this guy, he says to me, Brad, we're great at sales. We sell 70 or 80% of people that call. I said, fantastic. 2 weeks later, we'd measured it for 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, I came back to visit and I sat down with him and said, how's the conversion rate? And he was very upset. I think, in fact, he was ready to fire all of his staff at that point in time, because he was spending a lot of money on advertising and bringing leads into the business, but they were only converting 17%. Now you think about that, that means more than 4 out of 5 leads are just burned. When they call up, they don't convert them into a sale. We've got to measure it. But then again, we've got another 80-odd strategies to improve the conversion rate. So if we took a year, do you think we could get 10% better in your conversion rate? Yes or no? Yes. Yeah, especially if we measured it and knew what was happening and did all those things. So in this case, 10% more than 25 is what, everybody? 400. So, sorry, hang on. This one here, the 25%, not 35, it's 10% better. I don't want 10% more, just 10% better. I should have worded that properly. So in this case, we go to 27.5. So I've already done the math for you. That gives you 1,210 customers, 1,210 customers in this case. Then we're going to work on your repeat business. Now, simplest one of all of repeat business. How many of you, raise your hand if you've done this. Did every customer you've done business with in the last month even, just the last month, get sent a note that said, hey, thanks for buying from us. We really appreciate you buying. Who's done that? Okay, again, room for improvement here, gang. Lots of room for growth. My challenge with each and every one of you is that all of these things have got to happen if you want the business to grow. Give you a simple example. One company sent me a beautiful thank you card. It was a restaurant. I ended up becoming their best customer because my waiter sent me a handwritten note saying, hey, thanks for buying from us. We really appreciate it. Love to see you back again soon. If you need another booking, please call me, your waiter, Phil. He became known to me as Lucky Phil because that guy got good tips. But the point of it is, what are you doing to get your past customers back? How many of your past customers have ever said to you, hey, I didn't know you sold that, or I didn't know you could do that? Lots of them. Why? Because they don't know what else to buy from you. In fact, how many of you at least have a database, a list of all of your past customers, their names and addresses and emails? There must be a bunch of you with that. Okay, great. Keep your hand up if you still write to them at least every 90 days and ask them to come back and buy more often. Keep your hand up if you do that. Okay, so most of you are not doing that. You've just spent all that money getting that new customer, getting them to come to you. Doesn't it make sense to know their name and address and get them to come back more often? So even if all we did was 10% better. By the way, I was in where was it? Ireland. In the north of Ireland, this guy raised his hand. He said, Brad, can't possibly get more repeat business out of my customers. And I said, why is that? And he said, because I'm in the funeral business. It's like, okay, buddy, yeah, you got me. But actually, I got him back because I said to him, hang on a sec, who's the customer, the dead person or the family? He said, well, the family. I said, good. Any of them ever going to die? He says, yes, it's good. Keep in touch with them. You know, actually I had a realtor argue with me. I was just up in Milwaukee, and this realtor said to me, well, Brad, hang on a second. If I write back to my customers, it's not worth it. They only buy a new house every 3 to 7 years. I said, well, hang on, let's do the math. I'm suggesting you write back to them every 90 days. That's 4 times a year. What's it cost to send a letter? You know, $1, £1, €1, wherever you are in the world, it's going to cost you like $1. So here we are, $4 a year, 7 years, $28. Is that a pretty good investment to get a customer back? Yeah, and this is the challenge I have with a lot of business people. They spend all the money trying to get new customers and forget, what about keeping the past ones coming back? So number of transactions, in this case we go from 2 to just 2.2, 10% better. Then we're going to work your average dollar sale. This one's pretty easy. If you just measure this one, it will go up. Or you do the McDonald's lesson. What does McDonald's ask you? You go and order a burger and they say, would you like fries with that? You know, they ask you if you want the fries, and 3 out of 10 people say yes to that question. I was working with a group of lawyers, and lawyers are real funny, teaching them sales. And here I am teaching sales to lawyers, and I'm like, well, what's your would you like fries with that question? And they're like, I don't know, I'm not sure, da, da, da. And in the end, I said to them, listen, why wouldn't you just ask it? Well, actually, let's do a test. Raise your hand in this room right now if you either don't have a will or the will you have needs updating. Raise your hand if you're in that category. What do we got? 50, 60% of the room. So I said to this group of lawyers, why wouldn't you just ask everyone, by the way, does your will need updating? One guy takes me seriously. His firm made millions of dollars that year by asking that silly little insidious question. You know, you've got to understand though, these are strategies that work if you work them. The problem for most businesses is the business owner is so busy doing this and doing that and putting out fires and taking care of things that we don't get across the line of doing this stuff. So even if, in fact, one of the biggest strategies or the simplest strategies to improve your average dollar sale, guess what it is? Raising your prices. Who's the most scared person in any business to raise the prices? The owner. The owner's scared stiff about raising the prices. Why? Well, what if I lose a customer? Listen, the fact is that your customer's going to bitch and moan about your prices all day, every day anyway. To raise your prices. You know, most business owners, in fact, who's the most scared person in any business to raise their prices? The owner is always the most scared person. How come they think, oh, I'll lose a customer? Da, da, da. Look, the reality of business is very few customers are solely focused on price. Most customers are focused on value. So we've got to look at that sort of thing. How can you add value to them rather than discount, rather than try and be the cheapest? How can you actually get good quality customers that'll buy long term? So in this case, we're going to work on your average sale. If any of those ones don't work, we've still got another 60-odd strategies to improve the average dollar sale in your business. So if over 12 months we work on this, do you think 10% increase is pretty reasonable? Yes or no? Yes. Yeah. So we got 10% increase there. So of course what we've done is increase the revenues by 10%, haven't we? Yep. Haven't we? Yes. Thank you. No. Tricked you. It's actually not 10%. It's 10% times 10% times 10% times 10%. That gives us a $292,820 in revenues in this business. That's a 46% increase in the revenue because of the multiplying factor in this example. See, and then we got to, and where are my accountants again? If we had a 46% increase in revenue, has profits gone up? Yes, they have. But let's pretend we had to use some of the other 50 strategies to improve the profit margin in this business, and that takes us just 10% better again, 27.5. Now we got a take home of $80,525.50. That's 61% improvement in the bottom line of the business. Actually, how many of you would like a 61% improvement in your bottom line in the next 12 months? Say yeah. Yeah. In fact, how many of you would like to have a bottom line in the next 12 months? Anyone in that category? You know, it's one of these things, gang, that when we sit down and look at it, if we're so busy cutting hair or whatever your business does, we don't work on this stuff. And by not working on it, we have the problems. Now, what if your business could do 15% in each area? Or up to 20%, or 10 in some areas, 15 or 20 in other areas? What would be the improvement in your business over the next 12 months? So can you understand how coaching pays for itself? See, at Action Coach, we're one of the only coaching companies in the world that A, we do business in 53 countries around the world, but B, not only that, we guarantee what we do, because we pay for ourselves by using these strategies. So that's what happens in your business when we do this stuff. Now, once we've got the niche worked out, then we've got to get to the